You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your website, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
They say we offer simple answers to complex problems. Well, perhaps there is a simple answer. Not an easy answer, but simple.
It's common ground. It's common ground. It's common ground. It's common ground.
We have serious problems to solve, and we need serious people to solve them. Republicans and Democrats.
All right, folks. Well, happy Saturday morning. It is just a few minutes past the hour. You're listening to Finding Common Ground on KLRNradio.com. And I am one half of the crew, Mr. Rick Robinson, and I'm joined today by Mr. Bryce Robbins, who is now officially a college student that has been too busy to show up for work the last couple of weekends. No, I'm just busting your balls, man. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? It was only 1 week. I was so busy.
No, it was 2.
It was 2?
Yeah, it wasn't 2 in a row, but there have been two recently.
Oh, okay. All right, no, I've been good. Catching a little sickness right now, but I've been good. Just been, I guess I haven't been paying attention too much to the news. I thought I have, because you just told me about Donald Trump apparently now acknowledging climate change. I mean, that's still not what I want, but it's closer than it was before.
Well, I mean, like I said off air, you've got to be feeling pretty good right now, though, because both front runners at this point are acknowledging that climate change is actually a thing, because, you know, not a few short months ago, Donald Trump was calling it a Chinese hoax, which I thought was, even though I'm not a climate change supporter, I still thought was a little nuts. We have Hillary Clinton, who's now adopted Bernie Sanders' free college plan, for the most part. We had Donald Trump on the Dr. Oz show the other day talking about how we needed to expand Medicaid. We have him now talking about a 6-week, not a 12-week paid maternity program. All of the conservative pundits, when Bernie suggested the 12-week program, were like, oh my God, how are we going to pay for it? Oh, Trump said 6 weeks? Yeah, we're good with that. Then we have the earned income credit for child care, which when Bernie suggested much the same thing, everybody was like, huh? But now Trump said it, and they're like, yay! And I'm just thinking, holy crap, the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are now both one and the same under the banner of the ice cream party, because we're going to give everybody whatever the hell they think they want to make sure we get elected. Who cares? Fun times, fun times.
Well, I have a couple things to say to that. One, with your first statement, I am not a supporter of climate change. I think that in itself makes no sense, because it's not like one supports or doesn't support the idea of climate change. You either accept the scientific suggestion that climate change is real, or you don't believe in what the scientific suggestion states, therefore not believing the scientists. The overarching consensus. It's not really
I believe in climate change, just not the way you believe in climate change. Yes, the climate changes. It's called weather.
Yes, but scientists suggest that, overarchingly suggest that man contributes to it dramatically.
And how much money has the climate change industry made off of those scientists, and how much money have they gotten in return?
And how much money has the fossil fuel industry gotten for... I mean, that makes no sense. In fact...
No, it makes perfect sense, because the simple fact of the matter is the truth is somewhere in the middle. The climate change folks are too far on one side. The fossil fuel folks are too far on the other. Simple fact of the matter is what we need to do is put all the BS to bed and realize that we need to do what we can to make sure that we're better stewards for our planet. If that means slowly starting to move away from fossil fuels, I'm okay with that. But let's find a way to do it that makes sense, because forcing all of these things down our throats that don't work, that are super expensive, that wind up being government supported and funded, and then makes it even more expensive. Because back to Economy 101, folks, and Civics 101, what happens when the government starts paying for crap? It gets more and more and more expensive. Case in point, all of the grants and everything for college drive up the price of college admissions every year, because the folks that are running the colleges are like, hey, these kids are getting over half the money from the government to pay for tuition, so that means we should be able to raise prices more. Look at the same thing that Congress does every year when they go through the budget. $50,000 for hammers, $30,000 for toilet seats. Why? Because the government's going to pay for it, so why the hell not? The problem is, folks, we're running out of money. So we can keep talking about all these things and all these different government programs that are supposed to make everything better for everybody, or we can come to the realization that the bottom line point is we really only have one planet, so let's stop fighting about it and actually figure out a way to fix it that is cost effective and better for everybody, because even the people like me that are saying, hey, this climate change thing, probably not nearly as big of a deal as everybody's trying to make it out to be, are not saying that we should be outside burning tires and freaking lighting forests on fire. We're just saying, can we kind of ratchet down all the government BS over climate change?
Well, I mean, I just want to add in there, I don't think you have to pick between the economy and the environment. I think that's something that's just not necessarily true. And I think, there's multiple reasons why conservatives tend to believe that climate change is not real, when the overarching scientific community does. And I think a lot of it has to do with the recession. When people saw, all their money go away, the issue of the country became more about fixing our economy than fixing the environment. And if you can recall, when An Inconvenient Truth came out, actually, in 2006, Fox News actually gave it a comment and said that everybody should go watch it. Climate change, I don't think, was a partisan issue. Even George Bush said in 2000, that he would start to limit CO2 emissions, something that Republicans wouldn't even touch today.
I understand all of that, Bryce, but you're missing the point. How much have we already done for climate change? How much more do we ourselves have to do when the rest of the country is looking at us going, screw you, man, I'm making money over here. Look at China. They have zero emission laws. Zero. So how exactly are we? We keep talking about how we can't be the military police of the world. Now all of a sudden we're supposed to be the single country that changes climate change for everybody because we're going to overregulate ourselves to death to make sure that our air stays clean. So when it blows over to China, we're great. But what happens when China's air blows over here? Because this is the part that nobody's talking about, Bryce. This is an enclosed system. These things that are in other countries are going to come here. They're going to come here. So no matter what we do, we're not going to be able to fix the climate single-handedly, and we're not going to be able to stop all these supposed man-made CO2 emissions issues.
Well, that's not true again, because if you look at, there was an essay recently written, actually it was a couple years back, I believe it was in Time, or it was in some magazine, and they talk about some scientists who decided to adjust our CO2 emission output. So instead of saying China produces 100, whatever's of CO2 and the United States produces 50, he actually adjusted the numbers and said, instead of saying the producer will get the label of CO2 emissions, we're going to give that label to the consumer. So they took all the CO2 emissions that Chinese factories are producing that is then consumed by the United States and gave the CO2 emissions to the United States. It actually turns out that the United States and Europe still lead the way in fossil fuel emissions with our consumption rates. So when we're really looking at who needs to take the stand in fighting climate change, the United States absolutely needs to lead the way. Europe needs to lead the way. China still needs to lead the way as well.
But, so hang on, folks. Hang on. Just to make sure we're clear, at this point, these guys wrote an essay to prove their point by cooking the books. Because you can't give the CO2 emissions to the consumer because we're not the ones that are producing the goods at this point, Bryce. We barely make anything at all in this country anymore. So BS. What do? We make Japanese cars and trucks now. Ford's moving to Mexico.
We have 5% of the population. We have 5% of the population and are the second largest producer of CO2 emissions. And that's 5%
yeah, but that's using that same cookbook mentality that you were talking about a second ago.
Books, they're just blatant.
No,
facts.
it's BS, dude. You can't. Because you're using the same mentality that the stupid idiot that was high that wrote the essay wrote that said we should give the carbon emissions to the people that are buying the things from China because it's their fault that they're using so much CO2. That's BS, and you know it. That is really. Yes, it is.
I don't see how that's BS. That's just a way of looking at it.
No, it's a skewed fact. It's not even the truth, man. And the fact that you keep spouting all this stuff that you know in your heart is not true really annoys me.
I know in my heart that there's a problem that humans are drastically pumping CO2 emissions into the atmosphere that is thickening our atmosphere, that is, as a result, not allowing sunlight to escape, which is bouncing off of our atmosphere, hitting back to the Earth, and
the word you're looking for was ionosphere, genius.
Sure. I mean, I just don't see how that's not a believable thing. And we see more extreme weather events. We see, all of these things happening around us, and we say, oh, no, don't be silly.
More extreme weather events. What the hell are you even talking about right now? We've only been tracking weather now for about 120 years. So, things are cyclic. Look, you and I are never going to agree on climate change because I think it is a non-issue. Because hey, genius, according to the godfather of climate change, we weren't supposed to have any icebergs in the North Pole anymore by now.
That's not true. He said in 50 years from now.
No. He specifically said in 2015 the polar caps will be gone. What are we now, 2016? Still lots of polar caps. Where'd they go?
I challenge you to that quote because I just watched An Inconvenient Truth a couple days ago, and he said in around 50 years from 2006. So I'm just saying. And also, I challenge you to one statistic here that I want you to tell me. The world has never surpassed 300 parts per million of CO2 in its atmosphere, and we can date this back 800,000 years through ice core dating in the Arctic, because bubbles of atmosphere get trapped in the ice, and they can, however they do it, with their isotope whatever, figure out what made up the atmosphere at the time. And they could tell us that the world's atmosphere of carbon never surpassed 300 parts per million. We are now at 400 parts per million. And this all of a sudden started around the Industrial Revolution, if you look at the charts. Are we just going to state, oh, that's just a silly coincidence? Or should we start to be alarmed? And I think the big problem is that if you look at the amount of scientists who say climate change is real, and then look at the media and their pundits who aren't even, officials, who aren't even scientists, who debate on climate change with no legitimacy behind them, I think we should go with what the scientists say. And you can give the argument, oh, the numbers are cooked, the books are lying, but that's really a straw man argument. I never made that argument, and that's a little ridiculous.
No, I made that argument. I made that argument because you're talking about somebody who had the bright idea of, well, we should blame the people that are buying the products for the carbon emissions that China's putting out. So therefore, even though we're the ones that are over-regulating ourselves basically to extinction, we're still the largest producers of carbon dioxide on the planet because we're buying all of China's stuff. That is BS, and you know it. China would look. It doesn't matter at this point. So basically, what you're saying is what we need to do, because we've already gotten to the point where we have this EPA, which is a mammoth, is doing nothing but devouring everything that it can to continue to justify itself. We already get to the point where there's thousands and thousands and thousands of extra dollars spent on vehicles that don't really accomplish much of anything anymore, because we've already gotten our emissions about as low as they're going to be able to get using the stuff that we have right now, but we still have to keep making all of these changes to get it just that much lower, which continues to increase the cost of an overall vehicle. So what you're saying is, at this point, the only way the U.S. could actually finally start doing something about climate change is to let Mexico buy all of China's shit.
That's no.
No. In the circular logic of that essay that you keep talking about, that is exactly it. Because if we're going to be blamed for the products that we buy, not for the country that's producing them, then the best thing that we could do for the climate change to fix the numbers is to let somebody else buy all of China's stuff, not us. Because then they'll be the second larger producer of CO2, because it's our fault because we buy their stuff.
In that essay, he's simply just attaching who consumes the product.
Exactly. My point. I have a
problem with that, just for a study to tell you that the United States still is a very large producer of CO2 emissions. And even without that study, we're still by far the second largest producer of CO2 emissions. India doesn't even come close to second place, and China's in first place. So no matter how you slice it or dice it, you're either first or second, and neither is really that good. What we really need to focus on is, yes, regulation. Because, like you said,
how much more regulated can stuff get, Bryce? How much more regulation do we need at this point?
Let's get rid of styrofoam. Let's get rid of coal. Let's get rid of all the things that are really bad for the planet.
Let's get rid of coal. Yeah. What are you going to replace it with, genius?
Oh, well, first of all, we can look at. Well, first off, let's just start this argument off by noting
No. Answer my question. What are you going to replace it with? It was an easy question. Don't start shifting. What are you going to replace it with?
You can replace it with next-generation nuclear power plants. You can replace it with solar panels. You can
so we're all going to glow in the dark.
I'm sorry?
Next-generation nuclear power plants. That's your answer?
That's one of them. I mean, look at thorium nuclear power plants. We have the third largest thorium reserves in the world, and we don't even touch them. That could create millions of jobs, mining thorium and digging it up. And that type of nuclear power plant could recycle itself. I mean, these are the new scientific ideas of the future that just simply aren't aren't being funded.
So hang on. So wait, hang on. So instead of strip mining coal and ruining the environment, we're going to be strip mining thorium because it's able to be used as a pretty much infinite energy source. Then we're going to be building these big behemoth power plants that are going to be sitting about 5 miles probably from where I live, because I live out in the middle of nowhere, and God knows that's where they're going to put them all. But hey, that's the best thing to that's the best thing to do. Let's not forget all of this newfound stuff about wind energy and how we need to be moving away from a lot of things and moving back to putting windmill farms up and everything else. And yet, the wind farms are killing hundreds and thousands of birds every year. Because, hey, it's green energy, right? Who cares if the birds die? But these are the same people that are talking about the fact that, hey, we're killing birds with fossil fuels.
Actually, I mean, first of all, with the nuclear power plant, if you look it up, it's called thorium liquid fluoride thorium.
Please don't assume that, hey, first of all, if you're explaining it to the listeners, that's great, but please don't assume that I don't know what you're talking about, because we've only been doing this now for over a year.
No, I'm going to explain it to everybody. And these are supposedly, I mean, we've already had thorium reactors in this country in the 1960s, but now they are still really underfunded. In fact, India is building the first modern prototype of that. India is leading the way, and then China is going to be soon too. Because this is supposedly the energy of the future. The United States has a lot of thorium. And, you know, you even heard New York governor, whose name escapes my mind, who was running for president recently, just mentioned it. George Pataki even mentioned it on the debate stage. So it's really something we need to take a look at, because it could be the safest form of nuclear power we could ever have. As for wind and solar panels, well, solar energy already employs more people than the coal industry, and I think that solar installation is a job that you could relatively easy give training to people in the coal industry for, installation around their part of the world, and in homes around their part of the world. Wind turbines, actually. I mean, yes, I've heard quotes that they kill birds, but I mean, that doesn't mean you can't expand on the technology and you can't make it better. I mean, there are so many things that we could do, and I'm not saying that we should stop at solar panels or wind turbines the way they are and just keep investing in those. I think maybe we should start investing in the future, the evolution of those technologies. I think actually what Texas does is pretty admirable. They've seen clean energy go up. Why? Because they give their people, their citizens, a choice where their energy comes from. And you can pick if you want your energy to come from wind power, coal, oil, whatever, natural gas. And a lot more people now are picking that they want their energy to come from clean energy because they feel morally responsible when given the choice. When not given the choice, I guess they plead apathy. Oh, I didn't know. Oh, it must have come from there, and that's the only place I could get it from. Well, now you know it's not. And actually, they've seen their CO2 emissions are dropping, and they've seen that clean energy, the demand for it is going up.
So wait, hang on. Don't gloss over this for a second, because I got to point something out. First of all, in the overall voting scheme of things, what color's Texas?
Well, it's red turning purple.
But first part, what was that again?
Red. Yeah, no, I agree.
Okay. So, and how did they fix it? By government mandate or by giving their citizens a choice?
I mean, it's a little bit of both right there.
No. Answer the question. The predominant way they fixed it, was it by government mandate or by choice?
Oh, by choice, by people's moral decisions.
So again, back to what I've been talking about this entire time. I'm not telling you that I disagree with the overall premise of climate change. I disagree with the way it's being handled. I also don't think that it's being properly looked at, because I think a lot of the data that the scientists use are inflated. Because again, the same thing I've been telling you since the day you started it with us, you need to seriously look at where these people that are doing these studies are getting funded, because it's not about the truth anymore, Bryce. It's about funding. And they're going to sell the results that whoever gave them the money to start the study actually wants, because if not, they're not going to get paid. That's been my problem with all these scientific studies on everything for a long time, because look at all of these different drug things that come out, and they're like, oh, the FDA said this is safe, all these drug studies say it's great. 10 years later, do you or has anyone you know never used Fen-Phen, blah, 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 suffering from heartburn, and if you have or you know someone who has, you may be eligible for millions of dollars. Why?
Right, those are false equivalents, though.
No, they're not. No, it's not. It's the same damn thing, Bryce. Studies.
There were 10,000 scientific papers Of those, 97% that were analyzed confirm that climate change is a man-driven problem. If we're going to assume that all the crackpots at NASA, at the UN, at X, Y, and Z Science Association are just
Bryce, you're missing the point, Bryce. We have
saying that they're cooking the books, but there's no evidence to suggest ever that they've been cooking books. There's none.
Why not? Why not? Because, look, the one thing this election cycle has taught me is both sides are interested in control. Nothing more than control. They will tell you whatever they need to hear to get you to pull the lever, even if it means one side runs fully to the left and the other side moves a little bit to the right and makes themselves start sounding like the Patriots. So that's my point, Bryce. These people from the top to the bottom tell us whatever we need to hear to maintain control. And they do it by fear, anger, hatred, and anything else they can find. And one of the ways they found to do it is by screaming, it's the end of the world, it's the end of the world, it's the end of the world. They've been doing it since the 60s. This climate change thing that everybody's talking about now is not anything new. At first it was global cooling, then it was global warming, then they didn't have any way to explain it because
global cooling. That's an argument that Rod Eccles made, and there's never been a thing of global cooling. One scientist at NASA
are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now? I grew up in the era of global cooling. I watched all the videos, the little film strips they made us watch in school over global cooling. So don't tell me there's never been a thing about global cooling. And then global cooling.
There was one study in the 1970s that suggested...
And you know what? The point you're missing, Bryce, is they took that one study and they ran with it. So global cooling became a countrywide thing. They were talking about it on the news. They were talking about it in TV shows. They were talking about it at school. So it doesn't matter how many studies there were because the simple fact of the matter is it became a buzzword and it became a talking point.
That matters. If one person made a mistake and found out there was global cooling with false science, but then 10,000 people find out that there's climate change and the planet's getting warmer.
You're missing the point. You are.
The point.
No, you're missing the point that I'm trying to make here. We have been being led around by our nose for decades in response to fear, because somebody took a study and they made it a thing, and then that didn't work. So they did a bunch of other studies, and then they made it a new thing, and then that didn't fit the model. So they did a bunch of other studies, and they made it a new thing. And I'm not disagreeing with the fact that we need to take care of our planet, but can we stop being so damn fearful and actually try to fix it instead of using it as a political football?
So let's talk about Obama then. Then is he not doing a really excellent job? Because it seems that he's been the most aggressive president on climate change. He's been doing exactly what you said. He's been stopping carbon emissions. He's been making our country
He's been doing it through government mandate, Bryce. There's a right way to do these things, and there's a wrong way to do these things. And forcing it down people's throats instead of giving them the option to make choices is the wrong way to do it. That was the point I tried to make when we were backing up talking about Texas. If there is anything that Texas should have taught us, it's time to start giving people choices at the local and state level so they can make the decisions that best fit with their needs and their wants. The problem is we have too many states where energy is controlled by monopoly. We have too many states where people can't make choices because, like my state, I think there's maybe five energy companies within the entire state of Oklahoma. You know what? They're all basically gerrymandered. One can have service one place, one can have service another, one can have service in one region, one can have service in the other, but never the five shall meet. So why can't we start giving people legitimate actual choices and let the market start solving the problems just like they've done in Texas instead of overregulation and government mandate? Because you just said it yourself. What Texas is doing is working. So why can't we take what Texas is doing and start using it as a base model for the remainder of the states and allow them to actually find ways to do much the same thing so that we can have the consumers figuring out how best to deal with climate change, not the government ramming it down our throats, because I still don't think it is anything like it has been made out to be in these studies, because again, the government rules under fear, anger, and hatred. That's what they've been doing now for decades. It's what they've continued to do, and now they're not even trying to hide it anymore. And the only thing that I've ever said that asked you to do is, regardless of the number of studies that you're citing, go all the way back and figure out who actually funded them and figure out what their motives were. Because there is no truth in studies anymore, Bryce. It's about money, and it's about who's going to make money off of the studies. It's the same in this industry, because climate change is officially an industry now, just as it is in the pharmaceutical industry. And that's the truth of it, and that's what we need to, that's why we need to stop arguing about it. We need to stop trying to label it and just realize that Americans need to take care of the American climate and leave the rest of the world to figure out the rest of it on their own. But we don't need to do it by over-regulation and overreach by government, because it's happening more and more and more and more. So do I disagree with your premise about the nuclear plants? No, not on its face. But let's leave it up to the states to decide whether they want some big hulking nuclear power plant somewhere in their vicinity. If they want wind power, fine, let's give them that option. If they want to start using another electric company that's 100 miles away but doesn't have access to the same lines that everybody uses, let's start changing that. There are ways we can fix this without taking it all the way to the federal level, and that's what I'm talking about, because we keep giving federal control away inch by inch, mile by mile, and every time we do, it bites us right square in the ass.
Well, Rick, the one reason that I agree with a lot of what you said, but what I do disagree with is that our air and our water are not state issues. The water in New York flows into New Jersey, flows into wherever. Okay, the waters are not just in one state. The air does not just stay in California. That air in California blows over to Oklahoma.
Hang on. Wasn't that the same argument I was making about Chinese air coming over here, but somehow it's our fault because we're the ones buying their stuff? Anyway, we got to take a break, so I don't mean to cut you off. But
it needs to be a global issue, and that's why that the states should actually surrender that to the federal government, because it's not just one air issue.
No. They shouldn't. The states should be allowed to make their decisions first, and then the government should be there to pick up the slack if the states won't do some of the things that need to happen.
That's where we disagree.
Well, we're always going to disagree, because you think the world's coming to an end and we're all going to be floating around with polar bears with waders on because the whole country is going to be underwater soon. But we got to take a break. We'll be right back.
Common ground.
We have serious problems to solve, and we need serious people to solve them.
Republicans and Democrats.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Serious problems to solve, and we need serious people to solve them.
Republicans and Democrats.
All right, folks, we are back. We are live. We spent most of the show arguing about a topic that I'm not sure why we keep bringing it up, because even though it's fun and it's an entertaining argument, we're just never, ever, ever going to be able to find common ground on that one. Because, you know, too many people on my side of the argument don't even want to acknowledge the fact that we should be taking better care of the planet. Too many people on his side of the argument say that's not enough. So there's no winning on that one, depending on what side of the argument you're on. Something that we can agree on is the Libertarian Party and the fact that they actually had a shot this year, and they keep continuing to shoot themselves in the foot. I know Bryce himself wasn't a supporter of Austin Peterson. I happen to have been. I think he probably would have been one of the better choices for the Libertarian Party because he would have been able to reach a lot of the disenfranchised conservatives. Libertarians, however, didn't necessarily want us disenfranchised conservatives because they were afraid they would eventually just become another conservative party. Well, oddly enough, they avoided conservatives, and now they basically are sounding more and more like the Democrats, much like the Democratic Party themselves, and now even the Republican Party. So we have a Democrat running the Republican Party. We have a Democrat with socialist leanings running the Democratic Party, and we have a straight-up Democrat running the Libertarian Party. Fun times, fun times. Pick one. No matter which one you pick, you still get a Democrat. Bryce, you should be feeling really good right now. I know I keep saying that, but
I mean, I really don't, but look, I mean, I agree with a lot of what Hillary Clinton's saying now, but I don't know if that's what she means. I hope it is.
It's not. It's not. Just to make sure we're clear, it's not. I don't necessarily believe a lot of what Donald Trump is saying. And I've been telling people that, but let me tell you why, even though I know that he's only pandering for votes, that I'm not willing to pull the lever for the guy. And it doesn't have any, in this instance, it doesn't have anything to do with him being crazy, insane, unstable, all the things that I've been saying now for months. It has to do with the fact that the one thing that Bernie Sanders said he was going to do, that he's actually managed to do, is change the political discourse, change the conversation. We now have three major parties, well, two major parties and a minor party, that are all basically talking about the same things. They're talking about the same government programs, the same government issues, and they're all pretty much on the same page. So Bernie Sanders has done exactly what he said he was going to do. But that's the reason why, in my opinion, Donald Trump cannot be the one to win the election, because if he does, the face of the Republican Party will be changed for forever, and we will have gone from Democrat light, like a lot of us have been saying they've been for the last 8 to 12 years, to complete full-on Democrats, because at this point there's no daylight between the two parties, and there's barely any daylight between them and the Libertarians. So if we don't do something to drastically change the direction, at this point, everything that we've been afraid was going to happen is going to happen. They're all going to start running as the ice cream party because that's what's working. Because the more things they offer to give away, the more people pay attention. Look at how much further Trump finally is coming up into the polls now that he's offering to give away the farm. He's talking about increasing government spending in the military. He's talking about expanding Medicaid, which is going to mean increased spending. He's talking about earned income credit for child care, which is going to mean increased government spending because that is, in essence, redistribution. You're taking money that other people have paid into taxes and giving it out to other people to reimburse them for the cost of their daycare services. He's talking about paid medical leave, which was not supposed to be a mandate, but if you read it really closely, it does specifically state that if the employers don't find a way to offer it, the government's going to make them offer it, which in and of itself is a mandate by the government, which is again going to raise prices, cause issues. It's going to put a big damper on small business, which is a lot of what it's going to finish what Obamacare started. Because small business in this country right now is nearly impossible. I know this because I'm trying to run a small business and I'm trying to build a small business past the point of it being something that makes me maybe $2,000 or $3,000 a year if I'm lucky, which is all I get from this right now, and that's on a good year. Because it's almost impossible now to run a small business with all of the different government regulations and different things that you have to comply with, and now they're making it even worse, or they're going to. So the reason that one of the main reasons I've been opposed to Donald Trump for a very long time is, one, he's a Democrat. He can tell me he's not all he wants. Two, his policy choices, now that he's having a chance to make them and actually people are starting to listen to them, proves to me that he's a Democrat, and he's the last thing the Republican Party needed, because we used to be the opposition party. Now we're just the go-along-to-get-along party, because God forbid we ever win an election by giving people exactly what we used to make fun of the Democrats for giving people. And somehow we're supposed to do this while we're still projected to be $20 trillion in debt here pretty quickly. Yay, fun times.
I just want to say, though, I think when people like Rush Limbaugh and, Michelle Bachmann say, this is the last election, this is the last election, this is the end of the world. I think what they really mean is this is the last election where the Republican Party can win under their same message.
No. They've already changed the message. The Republican Party will never win again under its own old message. We've now started picking up Democratic talking points and political planks and running with them in the hopes of being able to sway new voters. The Democratic Party is in shambles, I'll admit, and was a mess, but the Republican Party is gone on its face. It's been corrupted. It's been assumed by a very angry faction of the Republican Party and some actual angry Democrats that have now come over and have decided to vote for Trump, and they have become on its face a group called the alt-right. The thing that people keep assuming, because they have the title alt-right, is that it was all coming from the right. This is not true. These are the angry, bitter racists that were within both parties, that everybody assumed were gone. And now they're not, and now they've been given a voice, and now we have the Democratic Party with ties to BLM, which is now basically calling for self-segregation. At this point, the political system as we know it is almost done. I'm not sure what's going to wind up replacing it. I'm not sure if we'll get one more election out of it past this, maybe two, before something drastic happens. Because if we don't find a way to put common sense back on the playing field, we're probably within 8 years away from a race war. Because nobody's talking about the things that really matter anymore, because we're too busy being angry with each other over things that happened hundreds and hundreds of years ago.
I don't think that all the people in Black Lives Matter, or even most of them, are angry about what happened hundreds and hundreds of years ago. I think they're a little upset about what's happening now.
Really? Then how come every single one of them that gets a voice and gets a microphone starts talking about reparations, starts talking about slavery? That's my point, Bryce. It may not be all of them, but the ones that have a chance to actually stand up and say something keep saying the same things over and over again. Just like the alt-right, who have a chance to be able to actually say something and give a voice to their new movement, talk about how bad the Jews are, and talk about how whites are the only race that matters. The point
I would focus not on these hate groups or on these segregationists or these radicals, but I would focus more on the fact that the Republican Party will never win again because Donald Trump is starting to swing that, but they're opposed to gay marriage, or at least they've given off that persona. They're just a bunch of, what at least is perceived to be old white religious people. And that is not a turn on for the young voter, for the new voter. They want to vote for somebody who they think is going to bring change. And I'm not saying whether or not Obama has. I mean, I think Obama's done an excellent job for the economy, but what you can say
hang on. An excellent job for the economy. We have a GDP of 2% right now. How is that an excellent job for the economy? We have more people on food stamps today than we had in 2000. How is that an excellent job for the economy?
Did I go down the numbers? We have the lowest poverty rate since 1968. He's added 10 million jobs. He came in during one of the biggest deficits in this country.
Hang on. The lowest poverty rate since 1968? Are you kidding me right now? That's like saying that we have the lowest unemployment rate since 1968. The difference is, Bryce, they've changed the calculations. They've changed the game by changing the numbers. That's the same point I've been trying to make to you about all these climate change studies that you keep wanting to spout. These people keep changing the game by changing the numbers, and we keep going along with the change of the numbers. If we put the chronically underemployed or unemployed back into the employment equation, we would have the lowest employment rate probably since the Great Depression. But nobody wants to talk about that because, they're just not looking for work anymore, so they've given up. So we shouldn't count them as unemployed anymore. We should just stop looking at those people. No, that's not true because they're not working.
This is according to the LA Times, and I mean, if you're just going to continue to say
that's a great source. The LA Times, there's a good place to be quoting.
They're just a source that's carrying it. I mean, I'm sure it's probably from the Associated Press, but stating that real median household incomes are back up. Since the lowest since 1999, they're now at $56,000 for the median income in America. And in 2014, it was only $53,000. So, and in the recession is when it starts to go down. So that's a good thing. Where
are they getting the data from, Bryce? You're missing the point. If you're going to keep taking articles on face value, then you're never actually going to find out the truth. That's been my point to you now for nearly 15 months. We have been being played. The government, regardless of who's got what letter behind their name, has been telling us whatever we needed to hear to keep us safe, happy, healthy, and going to work every day.
These statistics come from the United States Census Bureau. It says that the typical U.S. household income rose 5.2% in 2015. And also they're going on later to say that it's the lowest poverty rate since 1968 under Lyndon B. Johnson. So those are two things, thanks, Obama.
And if I actually believe the numbers, I might be right there with you, but I don't because
the buying power of the average worker's weekly paycheck has gone up 4.4% under Obama. Oil imports are down 53%, and solar and wind power have quadrupled. I think that's a cool number. And it's a good thing that oil has been lower on imports because we're producing more here at home, creating more American jobs. The home ownership rate has dropped by 4%, so that's not such a great thing. I'm just reading off some statistics here. And yes, you're right. The number of Americans on food stamps is up actually 36%. So that's not necessarily a good thing either. But you also look at illegal immigration, something else that affects the economy, has actually dropped 53% under Obama. So I don't know why the hard right is so up in arms. I mean, you really have to give Obama a round of applause for some of the policies he's implemented and also continued at the border that have decreased illegal immigration.
Oh my God! Yeah, let's give Obama a round of applause for some of the great things that he's done, when if he would have actually gotten out of the way, we probably would have seen one of the best recoveries ever. But instead, we've limped along and actually had, at certain points in time, some of our biggest companies in the country that have been leading the way economically reporting negative numbers for the first time since 1969. So yeah, he's doing a really great and wonderful job. So yeah, let's give him a round of applause. Do you want to start or should I?
Okay, ready? So jobs are up by 10 million. We have a low unemployment rate.
Hey. Jobs are up by, hang on. Jobs are up by 10 million. Did they happen to mention whether those are full-time or part-time jobs?
It's just employment.
Exactly my point. Because I bet if they actually gave you the number, yeah, jobs are probably up by about 10 million. They're probably low-skilled, low-paying, and part-time.
How about the fact that the United States trade deficit is down 24%, something that neither Reagan nor Bush even touched? We have lower petroleum imports.
Where are they getting that number? That's my point. You're citing a lot of statistics, and you're not. But you're missing the point. Do the sources that you cite actually tell you where they're getting this data, or are they just pulling it out of their ass?
I mean, from what it looks like, this is from the United States Census Bureau. This is also from the Bureau of Labor Management.
Because our government's never lied to us before.
I mean, if you're not going to take the statistics from the government...
Look, Bryce, hang on. You're missing the point. Does everybody remember back in 1999, 2000, when everybody was talking about how great the economy was under the Clintons, and how they started putting out all these papers and stories and statistics that showed that it was some of the best economic times we'd ever had. And then as soon as a Republican took office, all of a sudden we had Enron, because it turns out that they were propping up that company for about 6 to 9 months, not telling anybody how bad it was, which was a real shocker to the already starting to struggle economy that nobody was talking about.
Enron was a private company.
Yeah, except
that was what the government doing.
Yes, it was. Go look it up yourself. I'm done doing your homework. You're an adult now. Go look it up.
I mean, I understand that, and I actually have researched Enron, the energy company. I've researched it. I watched the movie The Smartest Man in the Room.
Because movies teach you everything. Bryce, you're missing the point. Enron was knee-deep into the government at the time that the Clintons were in the White House. And the simple fact of the matter was they kept doctoring reports because of how knee-deep into the government that company was, that kept limping along the U.S. economy and creating a false dichotomy that the economy was actually doing great, when in essence it was actually really already starting to decline. And that's been my point all along. You're taking all of these things on face value in an election year, no less, talking about what a great job the economy is doing, when we see it on the street every day that it's not. They can tell you, they can give you numbers all day long to support their claims, because it's really easy to pull numbers out of the air and say, well, look how much better we're doing here. No, it's not, Bryce. You forget what I do for a living. I talk to people all day long that have lost their jobs.
Rick, that's exactly what Newt Gingrich said on an interview in CNN. He said he talked about shootings in Chicago, and he talked about deaths in pockets in America, and then the interviewer says, yes, but gun violence or violence in general is down in this country. And he goes, yes, but people don't feel like they are. Well, maybe people don't feel like the economy is doing well, but the numbers suggest something else. I'm not going to keep arguing this point with you, because you're a blind-eyed ideologue who still doesn't buy the fact that the government can lie to you, even though they've been lying to you for years. They're lying to you now. You have freely admitted that you don't believe what Hillary Clinton is saying, but you hope that she is saying the right things, and you hope that she means what she's saying, but you know in your heart that she does not. So when are you finally going to make the leap and understand that our government does not have our best interests at heart? So when they start putting reports out like this, it isn't because it's sunshine and lollipops and everything's golden. It's because there's a certain group that's in power that want to make sure that they remain in power, and it's what happens every single election cycle. The party that is in power, that is trying to maintain power, is doing everything they can through numbers,
media perception and everything else to maintain and control that power. You now have Barack Obama, who everybody knows despises Hillary Clinton, is out on the campaign trail stumping for her, even though everybody knows behind closed doors that those families cannot stand each other. Because it's all about power and control, Bryce. That's what needs to stop.
Right. No, definitely. I mean, because that definitely discounts all the bureaucratic agencies and all the, everything that the government has. All the people working under the government, we're just going to discount the government as a source because, .gov is complete BS. And I mean, then if you're going to totally discount, I mean, no, I'm not saying don't question statistics.
No, that's exactly what you're saying.
No, it's not.
No, bull. That's exactly what you've been saying for the last 20 minutes. Well, Rick, these things come from Bureau of Labor Statistics, blah, 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 blah. That's funny because the unemployment rate comes from Bureau of Labor Statistics, and everybody admits they've been cooking that for a while because they removed the chronically under or unemployed from their equations. So if they're cooking one part of the books, and we know they are, who says they're not cooking the rest of it?
I mean,
again, look, Bryce, how can you defend that at this point when you and I both know that if they put the people that have not been able to find work for longer than 6 to 9 months back into the equation, our unemployment rate would be closer to 25 to 30%.
When did they change that equation?
You know when they changed it?
When?
Bush, 41 is when they changed it.
Okay, and why did they change it that? Why did they do that?
Because it's all about perception, Bryce.
I really feel like it's not just, if we take this number out, then the people in the media will think that we're doing a good job. I don't believe that. I want to understand why they changed that, because maybe they did it because they, developed some new system, or maybe they did it because it was for some new welfare system. I don't know, because if you're not going to tell me why they did it, then I'm going to have to question you on that. Why did they do it? And
I just told you why they did it. You just don't want to buy it because you're still young and you're still idealistic and you still think the government has your best interest at heart when you know they don't, but you don't want to believe that. Because you are reliant on government, because the government fixes your issues with climate change.
Okay, that's beyond ridiculous.
No, it's not, Bryce. No, it's not.
How the system is working. And to be honest, there is no factual basis for one's feelings. That's idealistic. Saying, I feel like the economy's not working.
No, Bryce. I'm using actual empirical data. You're using pie charts and flow charts. I talk to people every single day that are out of work for the first time in 10 years. No, it's not, Bryce.
It would be facts and statistics.
Except those facts and statistics can be
changed. Someone who lost their job is not a credible source on how the economy's doing. Because then you can ask somebody
except that I take over 125 calls a day on average, and I usually speak to about 50% of them that are reporting that for the first time in 15 years they're unemployed.
Even that is not a viable statistic for how the economy as a whole is doing on a macro level. That's not. Milton Friedman would not accept that.
Milton Friedman would not accept that.
It's true. That's ridiculous. Should I ask? If I told you that I asked 100 people around my college campus, do you think the climate is getting warmer? Has it felt warmer to you? You would not accept. I would not accept that as basis for the fact that the climate is changing. Asking 100 people.
Except you're asking for an opinion of does it feel warmer to you? I am telling you that I speak to hundreds of people. I am telling you that I speak to hundreds of people a day that are reporting that they've lost their jobs. I'm telling you that in the state that I live in, the oil industry is tanking and is still not yet recovered. I'm telling you that in the state that I live in, the companies that are involved in industry and the energy industry are closing. They're cutting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of jobs. So don't you tell me how much better the economy's doing, because I'm living through the exact opposite. So you can tell me, you can show me pie charts, you can show me on a macro level how much better the economy's doing. The thing that really needs to be thought about, though, is where are those jobs being created? And was it the federal government that did it? Is it new government jobs? Because in essence, new government jobs really don't generate any new income, because those are already being taken out of tax revenue. Or was it a state like Texas, where if it wasn't for the economic growth in Texas, we would have negative GDP for the last 8 years? That's the point I've been trying to make. These numbers can be flawed.
let's just take what you just said, and I'll show you how your numbers could just be flawed. You said that you're talking to people from the energy industry. Well, let's just say hypothetically the energy industry is not doing too well. Well, you didn't talk to people from all other industries. So how is that a perception of the economy as a whole? It's not. You're not talking to people from the solar industry. You're not talking to people from the nuclear industry. You're not talking to people from the wind industry. You said you're just talking to people from oil. That oil is tanking, so therefore the economy is bad. Now I ask yourself where these jobs are being created. Well,
hey, genius, stop talking. We have a caller. And
Bryce.
Hello.
How are you? Can you hear me?
Yeah, hey.
I'm assuming this is your guest for here in like a minute, which is why I've been trying to wind you down.
For a previous show. Hey, Dr. Massey, how you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. Well, we're just finishing up the previous show, and then we're going to roll right into Opinionation.
Yeah, which is why I've been trying to wind you down for like 5 minutes, because we're now getting into your showtime. Anyway, folks, this is the end of Finding Common Ground. We're going to change gears, be right back with Opinionation. This is Rick Robinson. Have a great rest of your weekend. I'll be back with you Monday morning. Take care.
They say we offer simple answers to complex problems. Well, perhaps there is a simple answer. Not an easy answer, but simple.
It's common ground. It's common ground. It's common ground. It's common ground.
We have serious problems to solve, and we need serious people to solve them.